Hello everyone, and welcome to Module 1 of the Ethical Practice and Career Development online course. Module 1 is called Personal and Professional Ethics. During this module, we're going to take a look at our personal and professional ethics and how they guide our ethical decision-making as career development practitioners. In Module 1, we have a number of learning objectives. First, we want to look at a definition of the word ethics. Then we'll have an opportunity to identify the kind of ethical issues we commonly meet at work and how they relate to the Canadian Career Development Practitioners Code of Ethics, the code of ethics that guide our profession. We're going to have an opportunity to familiarize ourselves with our code of ethics and have a broader discussion about the importance of professional codes of ethics to our practice as career development practitioners. And finally, we'll explore how our personal values and decision-making processes can influence our responses to ethical dilemmas. First, let's look at the definition of ethics. Take a moment and think about what comes to your mind when you hear that word. Some of the words that I associate with ethics are principles, values, and words like theory and philosophy. It's a word that's been in the human vocabulary for centuries, from Aristotle to Confucius to Jean-Paul Sartre. Across centuries and cultures, people have been concerned with questions of how people ought to act and the definition of right conduct. The word ethics is derived from the Greek ethos, meaning custom or habit. It denotes a theory of right action. It asks questions like, how should people act? What do people think is right? How do we take moral knowledge and put it into practice? And what does right even mean? Here are some definitions of ethics. Simply, ethics is a system of values, but it can also mean rules governing the conduct of members of a profession. These definitions imply that ethics are a set of standards that guide our behavior and our decision-making, both personally and professionally. So let's take a closer look at the system of values. Ethical values are based on a set of accepted principles. These principles are the foundation on which the system of rules and standards rest. They include trustworthiness, respect, dignity, responsibility, fairness, common good, and caring. Our definition of ethics also included standards governing a profession. In many cases, these professional standards are referred to as a code of ethics. So what's a professional code of ethics? Well, they're the guidelines that set acceptable conduct or behavior for a profession. They're the guiding principles designed to help professionals conduct business honestly and with integrity. They usually outline for us the mission and values of the profession, the ethical principles based on the profession's core values, how professionals are supposed to approach ethical problems, and the standards to which the professional person is held. We look to our professional code of ethics to help us decide on right conduct and to assist us with ethical decision-making. Even with a code of ethics to guide us, there are times in ethical decision-making when there is no clear-cut right answers. Often the most challenging ethical decisions are those when a code of ethics don't give clear guidance, or when our code of ethics is in contradiction with our personal values. These are referred to as ethical dilemmas. Let's look at some of the elements that make up an ethical dilemma. An ethical dilemma is one in which a person has to choose between two options, both of which are ethically correct. We know we're facing an ethical dilemma when we must make a decision about which course of action is best. We have a choice. For an ethical dilemma to be present, there must be different choices of actions to choose from. No matter what course of action is taken, some ethical principle is compromised. An ethical dilemma is a debate between two right principles. It's about balancing right versus right. If there's a dilemma, it's because each option or choice must have some right to it, or else it wouldn't be a dilemma. Whenever we make ethical decisions, we base these decisions on our personal values, our judgment, and in the case of our practice, knowledge of our professional obligations. Knowledge of our professional obligations include knowing the laws that apply to our professional roles, being aware of the policies and procedures of our organization, and of course, having an understanding of our professional standards. It's precisely this knowledge of our professional standards that we're going to be exploring next. During this course, we're going to examine the Code of Ethics set out in the Canadian Standards and Guidelines for Career Development Practitioners. Now, this is the Code of Ethics that guides the conduct of frontline career development practitioners working in Canada. The Code of Ethics for career practitioners sets guidelines for three key ethical categories: professional competency and conduct, client relationships, and professional relationships. Let's look at these three categories in a little bit more detail. The first category, professional competency as conduct, relates to ourselves personally as professionals. So do we abide by the laws that are associated with our profession? Do we ensure our organization and our colleagues are adhering to a code of ethics? The second category is about our relationship with our clients. Do we demonstrate integrity when working with clients? Do we honor confidentiality? Do we ensure informed client consent? Do we respect diversity? And finally, the third category is about our relationship with other professionals. Are we respectful of our colleagues? Do we work well as a team? Do we resolve problems with colleagues in an appropriate manner? Well, these are broad categories in the Code of Ethics. More specific ethical considerations, standards, and conducts are itemized under each of these three groupings. Now, the Career Development Practitioners Code of Ethics is a voluntary code, which means that it's up to us as individuals to respect and use it. In addition to this, it's equally important for us to be aware of and respectful to any other type of code expected of an employee in our workplace. Our Career Development Practitioner Code of Ethics also outlines an ethical decision-making model, and we're going to be exploring and applying that model in Module 2. We invite you to continue your learning by doing the following tasks for Module 1. Watch 2 videos, read an article on the Code of Ethics, do 2 activities, and join in the discussion forums. All of the material for the courses, including the videos, the articles, and activities, as well as your discussion questions, can be found on the online course site. If you have any questions about the course or the course content, please post your questions on the course questions forum or contact your instructor. If you need technical support, please contact Life Strategies. So bye for now and have a great week.